do not want to be your punching bag, 'cause I'm done with that. I will not let myself be a doormat, 'cause I don't want to be walked on. What will you do when I am nowhere to be found? What will you do
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. We could be. We might be. It looks like we are. We are live, ladies and gentlemen, here on the I'm No Joe YouTube channel. Thank you very much for tuning in to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. Tonight, as like most nights, we have got a breakdown and some shenaniganry and shit talking for you lined up. This evening, we have got a very unique situation here. We have got both a pay-per-view and a shit show wrapped into one, but we'll get into that in just a little bit here. Before we dive into the shit show that we've got lined up ahead of us, first I want to take a moment to thank these fine gentlemen. The newer guy, but still, just, what do you say, RJ?
Fuck you. Still. It's weird being on here twice in 1 week. I feel very unusual doing this. But it's a fucking good card this weekend. There's a lot of bullshit and a lot of strange things afoot. But there's quite a few fights that I'm very excited for, and I really want to get into it.
Yeah, we've definitely got some good ones to talk about, so we will definitely get there. Moment. How are you doing this fine evening, sir?
What's happening? I heard RJ was defending his interim new guy belt.
He's trying, man. He's trying.
So I came to watch because a lot of times those interim bouts are a lot better than the actual championship bouts.
Sometimes.
Eventually, RJ's going to run into the real new guy and he's going to get choked the fuck out. But right now, he's I've got RJ by a split decision.
Yeah, so far.
I don't know about that.
Are you calling him the Sugar Sean fucking podcast world right now?
That's right. He's the interim champ. Eventually we'll get around to finding a new guy, and the two of them can just fuck each other up in the corner, and we'll just sit back and.
Hell yeah.
I heard fuck each other in the corner.
He's been on these longer, so maybe I'm gonna be the one to try and take his belt off of him. I don't know.
I heard fuck each other in the corner. What happened?
See,
that's right.
That's how it starts.
That's exactly how it starts.
It's all fun and games till the VG gets broke out in pre-portioned squeegee bottles.
Fuck yeah.
Got the roommate warming it up in the microwave right now.
There you go.
That interim belt is mine.
See, that's how it starts. Oh, and then across from myself, more as is the case more often than not, my Wednesday night homeboy, my combat shit-talking compatriot here, the one and only Mr. Golf T Vapes. How you doing this evening, sir?
I'm excellent, except for I learned tonight that we are co-hosting with a one bald man, but hey, I'm not here to discuss those types of things. I mean, if you want to Lance Armstrong it up.
I mean, to be fair, you got to be a little nuts to be on this show.
Yeah, or lacking a few there.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
That's right. Apparently that one could only find one.
I've only found one, motherfucker. What's up?
Everybody has to start somewhere.
It's the small things.
That's right. Sometimes it's the little things in life that make you the happiest. Oh, boys and girls. But the namesake for this particular episode has us in a bit of an odd situation. To start out with, as is the case for most cards for the last couple weeks, we have had our fair share of additions and subtractions from this card in the last week or so, including literally a last-minute fight addition just about 2 hours ago. So before we dig into all the notes that I've already got lined up, I do want to take just a moment because it's an interesting matchup, and I did not see this one coming, but they have added a literal last-second fight to the card. Apparently, it has been known for a couple of days by the organization, and they included them in some of the early presser, but they just literally put the fight announcement on the card itself about an hour and a half ago when I went, what the fuck? The fight we are talking about here is Ashley Yoder stepping in against Lavinia Souza. This might be one of those ladies' side of the house matches that nobody necessarily asked for, but it's because we didn't know that this was an option either. Realistically, this is a really, really interesting matchup because Ashley Yoder is one of those, how should I put this politely? Aspiring PVZ style UFC fighters, I think is a fair analogy. If we were purchasing this particular model from China, it would definitely be a PVZ styled MMA fighter. I think that's the best way to go with it. That being said, Souza is kind of flying under everybody's radar here. And I'm not 100% sure where that comes from. She's fucking 13-2. She's got more wins than Yoder has fights. They don't call her the Brazilian gangster because she doesn't know what the fuck she is doing. So the fact that she is already the Vegas underdog in this match against Yoder, who is almost at a 50-50 record, is a little interesting to me. But that being said, I am absolutely excited to see this fight open the prelim card because they, in shuffling things around, have added a pair of soup can fellas to the quote-unquote early prelim card, which is literally just two fights of two folks who have never done anything that anyone can find any information about. But then they're going to open the prelim fight with Yoder versus Souza out of nowhere. And I think that's interesting because that's a real good matchup. I think Souza has got all the skills she needs to just fucking ragdoll and get a nice little name boost off of Yoder here. But I don't know. It's something strange about the way that they just kind of slid this one in there.
This is a wee bit of a strange fight. However, I don't think it'll be that cut and dry because, to be honest, both these two, in my opinion, they're mediocre at best. 13-2 record, yeah, that'll get you here, but when you're fighting the soup cans that have already been dented on the shelf from the fucking excess store down the street that you get everything half price already, that doesn't say much on 13-2. Don't get me wrong, you made it to the big show. Congrats to you. Yoder, she's hit or miss. But what's really funny about these two, if you look at both of their last fights, they won two and then they both lost their last. Stay one step closer away from being given their walking papers. You lose, you're one step closer. I don't think they'll cut either one of them, but I mean,
Every week.
fair enough.
So I've done the ab math on these two. They're actually relatively close.
It's
as far as abs go.
close, right?
Souza does appear to be just a little bit more ripped. And so to me, been seeing it a lot in the ladies fights recently, clinching it up and really working Yoder over. Yoder is actually a lot tougher than I ever give her credit for. You just kind of look at her; she's kind of a pretty little thing,
Right.
but she's a lot tougher. She's a lot tougher than credit for. I kind of see this one going decision, but I'm gonna give it to Stu.
I mean, Souza, bought like on paper, she is a bit better on striking. She's not a fantastic striker,
Right.
but she's better striking than what Yoder is. She's better on her feet, and she is a bit better, not by much. Both of them are pretty fucking good whenever it comes down to ground game. Um, so really, it's going to come down to who can get who on the ground first, and who can implement a game plan faster. That's really what it's going to come down to, unless fucking gangster over here is just I'm I'm just gonna stand up, throw hands, and fucking run some takedown defense, which I don't see that fucking happening. But it's gonna be a strange match. Maybe it will go the good old standing on their feet, because ground game versus ground game, as we've seen the last few weeks, a boxer and a boxer, they go to the ground. Two people that go to the ground, they're standing on their feet now.
We'll see. We'll definitely find out. There's a possibility, but I don't know. I kind of think, for the most part, when we see Yoder, at least the last couple times we've seen Yoder, she's like a more timid Holly Holm. There's a lot of ha, but not a lot of actual pop behind it. Sousa's pretty smooth with the counters too, so it could get real interesting, because a lot of hot but no pop, and then leaving yourself open against a gal who's looking for you to leave yourself open like that. I don't know. We'll definitely have to keep an eye out. From there, though, that will bring us into the next ladies' fight on the prelim. Uh, Another very interesting matchup. This one that we've known about for a little bit, though. The re-emergence, as they're calling it, of Felice Herrig against Verna Jandiroba. Felice Herrig, for those of you who don't know, was on a 2-fight streak before she tore her ACL, MCL, meniscus, and fractured the inside joint, I believe, of her knee in practice, ironically, wearing wrestling shoes for MMA grappling, or excuse me, wearing boxing shoes for wrestling practice as it applies to MMA. Too much torque, too much snap, and the knee went, ha ha! That was 2018. It's off for the knee to heal. She has successfully made a full recovery. She was fully cleared by everybody. She is literally back to 100%. So I'm very curious to see how she has taken advantage of that time off. On the other side of that coin, though, we have only seen Verna in the UFC twice. Once when she made her debut on 6 days' notice against Carla Esparza, which she lost to a decision. The next one, she came back and showed that she is quite very capable. She had just literally taken a short notice fight against Carla Esparza for a soup can. That's a lot to handle early on. Well, she started that right back in the right, put that on the right track after the short notice start out to Esparza, and and purposes looks like she's knee incident inconsistent, I think is a good word for it. Even before the 2-fight loss, her record is hit and miss all the way down the line. I like Felice Herrig's style. Not 100% sold on if she's got herself back into place she needs to be able to compete with these young, up-and-coming, hungry ladies on the UFC side of the house, because UFC is kind of done fucking around. They're really shit or get off the pot in this situation, as we can tell by them letting PBZ walk over to BKFC. I know that's a lot of acronyms, but I think in this situation, we're going to see Felice Herrig demonstrating what they refer to as ring rust. She literally hasn't been in the octagon in almost 2 years, and the last few times she was in there before that didn't go well, and I think that's going to show a little bit. Whereas Verna is coming off of a win and still getting that momentum going. I think we're going to see Felice start to shine a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think we're going to see Jandiroba take the W.
I'm inclined to agree with that to an extent. The one thing Felice has going for her right now, she's got time to completely heal to 100%, get her shit back together. She's had excess time to train because, even though you're healing during that year off, you can still train, just not at 100%.
Right.
So I'm sure she was still doing some light grappling, some light hand work, and things like that weren't putting entirely stress. And sure as shit, she was probably doing some running in a pool because it's low impact on the knees. And,
Right.
I mean, they've got those low impact treadmills now where you put on those fucking strange ass pants and it kind of lifts you off the treadmill.
There was one on Embedded today. They showed DC they showed DC squatting like a chick putting on skinny jeans, and he has to have someone hold the top of because you have to wear a brace to put in there to take the resistance off. And he has someone else hold the brace for him while he literally squats down to get into them. And he says, "I feel like a girl putting on tight jeans." And that's exactly what it looks like. You're like, "Oh, dude, don't show that part. Don't show that part."
Yeah, the physical therapy aspect of it,
yeah.
where the medical field's at with physical therapy on those types of things, especially for people who are a professional athlete, they have way more access than like you or I are going to have to some of those,
especially with the PI.
higher end PTs. I mean, so I'm sure she's gotten quite a bit of training in. I'm sure she feels a lot better than she did on that 2-fight skid where she was probably already injured then.
Yeah.
And, well, she was training after her last fight was with, I think it was with the Karate Hottie.
Yeah.
Michelle Watterson.
It was.
And Watterson whipped her ass.
Watterson,
that was the start of Watterson's tear, too, though, at the same time.
It was. It was the beginning of the Mom Champ run.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, the best thing she has going for her, she's going to be a lot healthier than Jandiroba's going to be. And I'll say that 100% over. Now, is ring rust a thing? We can debate that all day. Say yes, it is. No, it isn't. Because some fighters you can't tell. Other fighters you can really tell.
Right.
I guess it's going to depend on whether ring rust for her is actually real or not, and how much time she spent sparring too. Because sparring's a good indicator of where you're going to be at. And Fortunately, Embedded, you're not going to see a goddamn thing about her, so you don't really know. I mean, it'll be a toss-up. I think Jandiroba definitely has a little bit more edge just because she's had a couple of fights. Yeah, her first fight was on 6-day notice, but she also lost to a fucking soup can, so...
Only by decision, though, to her credit. She did take that soup can on short notice to a decision for her first ever fight in the UFC.
Well, that soup can takes a lot of fights to decision, so... Right. I mean, that's not saying a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying all facts have to be considered.
and here's my other counterpoint to her. Her fight she won was against a unknown, not even labeled soup can. And yeah, she got a submission, but that was them saying, "Oh, thanks for taking this on short notice. Let us give you something that's a little bit easy to work with and see where you go from there." So I think it's going to be kind of a toss-up fight. I think it'll be a 50-50. If Felice is feeling that she's doing as well as she can be, I think she has the edge. But based on just active time right now, you have to give it to Jandiroba.
Yep, I agree.
This is one where the ab math might fail me, because Felice Herring is always ripped up. She is always ripped up. Jandiroba, not always. She'll come in with a 4-pack every once in a while, but I think this is really going to be how does Jandiroba handle the pressure that Herring likes to apply, because she really likes to push things.
Yeah.
Really likes to push things. Maybe she changed her style. I don't really see it. Because Herring could get caught by a surprise submission kind of out of nowhere, I think.
Oh yeah, I agree.
That's what worries me. If this stays on the feet, I mean, Herring's she'll take it. I think, just based on the forward pressure that she's gonna put in the volume that she'll throw out, versus what Yandarova's probably gonna do. Yandarova will probably counter strike and be looking for that takedown into a submission, where she can work her on the ground. So, and Herring's had a lot of time to work. She's had a long time to work. But I think I'm gonna have to go Yandarova on this one. Like I said, I think my ab math may fail me. This may be the I'm thinking Yandarova probably in the second. I'm thinking I think they'll probably feel each other out for the first, and then you'll see the old ground and work take over. So
When in doubt, alligator out.
that's right.
Man, I don't know. This is Yandarova's first actual legitimate decent opponent. Like, Herrig isn't the best of the best, but she has a number by her name for a reason. Because at one point in time before she went on her little losing streak and her misfortune of the accident with her leg, dude, she used to be a good fucking fighter. And Yandarova really hasn't competed with anybody at this level yet. And as Fresh said, Yandarova is pretty much not doing much on her feet. She'll counterpunch, but she's mostly looking for that fucking takedown. Like her tapes just on submission game is pretty fucking good. She has some legitimate skill on the mat. Standing up, that's another story. So I think that if she's not paying attention, she's gonna get caught and gonna get put down. I would not mind seeing that. I want to say Herrig on this, because as TJ was talking about, physically you're healthier, but then she's had a lot of time to really hone some skills, get better with her hands, get better on takedown defense. She's had some time to really just finely tune that toolbox. She's had a lot of time, and I think that this weekend is going to be a good fucking time to show what she's been doing over the last 2 years.
Interesting. I suppose there's definitely a possibility, but I don't know. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on it. I think it's going to be an interesting fight either way, and I think that's going to be, especially coming off the Yoder fight, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the ladies get the card rolling or don't. But that being said, that will bring us to, honestly, the fight that I am probably the most excited about on the whole fucking card. Maybe second most, but if it's second, it's tied for fucking second. But I think this might be the one that I'm super fucking stoked for the most. Last minute addition. Again, lots of swapping around going on this one. We just learned about this one a little over a week ago. The last minute addition to the card. The man coming in to try to make fucking history on Saturday night. Jim fucking Miller stepping in against Vince Pichel. This match, he right now currently holds the UFC record for most wins. He is tied with Cowboy Cerrone for most fights. This puts him in the lead in both categories now. That's a big fucking deal. Both of these dudes are setting the bar. They are taking turns bumping the bar up so high. These fly-by-night fucking Contender Series kids don't stand a chance of even being able to look at the fucking record that these two are just pushing the bar out further and further on. But this is the chance for Jim Miller to take that step out in front of Cowboy Cerrone, because these two guys have been going neck and neck for most records of this and most records of that for the UFC, and they're both at that holy shit recognition point. But this is Jim Miller taking his step forward and being the dude, in my opinion, here. I fucking love Jim Miller. I fucking love Cowboy Cerrone, but this is Jim Miller taking that step forward and leading the well-rounded. You have to be able to do everything at any point in time to be able to do it this long and this well with this many bonuses, this much of a highlight reel. Jim Miller at this point is just extending all of the reasons he's going to be a Hall of Famer when he's finally done with his career. That being said, Vince Pichel is not a soup can. I won't go so far as to say he's another title contender, where I think if Jim strings another couple together, he could realistically be making a run. But it's still going to be an interesting fight. I don't think he's going to be able to just plow through Vince, but I'm pretty sure that Jim Miller is going to take this one home. I think he's got another submission in him. I think we're going to see Jim Miller, because he's been working on his striking a lot, but he's been working on his jiu-jitsu a lot as well. And he kind of, you see a little smirk in the videos where he posts himself working on his jiu-jitsu a little more than you see him working pads. And I think I think he's been training something sneaky that he's waiting to show us just for that extra little Dana write the fucking check move. And I think we might see that this Saturday night. Knowing that this is a short notice fight, he's on UFC 252, it's a fucking pay-per-view card. Granted, he's on the prelims, but he's on the fucking card, and with as much hype as coming around this because it's a short notice, it's Jim Miller, he's going to make history. I think this is going to be a great fucking showcase for him to put on a nice, beautiful submission and a nice little bow tie on the reason that Dana needs to cut him an extra large fucking check this weekend. Jim fucking Miller, all day long.
All right. I'm actually inclined to agree on this one. Jim Miller, he found the fountain of youth somewhere, and he's been taking people's arms from him still.
Yeah.
And like, Pichel's a tough dude. He's been hurt a lot though, and he only fights about once a year.
Yeah.
And I mean, that gives him a lot of time to set up for fights, but for a short notice fight against Jim Miller's going to take your fucking arm.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'll keep it short and sweet. Like, he's taking another arm home with him, and he's like, hey, Dana, can you sign it with this?
Right.
So, yeah, it's going to be, I just, a short notice fight against a dude that fucking crafty. Like, I just don't see any other way than Jim Miller's walking away with this one.
Yeah, I'm right in that same boat, except I don't think it's going to be a taking arm. I think it's going to get one of the good old-fashioned Jim Miller guillotines.
Ooh.
I wouldn't be mad
I'd take his neck home with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that.
I mean, you think when he fought Guida, guillotine. His last fight that he just had, I think that was a guillotine. No, the last fight was an armbar.
Armbar.
Yeah, he snatched Roosevelt Roberts' arm right off his body.
Snatch an armbar.
Made him scream.
I was to say it was a verbal tap too. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's been in on a wee bit of a tear. He had one little hiccup in there against Holtzman.
Yep.
But it wasn't bad.
No, and even then, you saw last weekend that Holtzman, like, for what it's worth, I like Scotty Holtzman, but I think last weekend proved that what he got against Jim Miller was a fluke. I said it. I don't care.
It was a fluke. He just got the luck of the draw that night.
He had whatever fucking MMA magic that needed to come down through the fucking heavens that evening happened to be on Scotty's side, and I think he used it up against Jim Miller. If you look what happened last weekend.
I mean, my hat goes up to Jim Miller for taking this though, because he really didn't have to. He could have got a much better fight.
Oh yeah, well he was remodeling his fucking house.
And I'm not trying to take anything away from Pichel, but you know, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, like on paper, Pichel looks good, but like he's had good fights, but a lot of the fights that he's had against like mediocre at best, he's like won by a decision or lost by a decision. And you're talking about Jim Miller. That motherfucker doesn't know what a decision is. His decision is, do I want a roast today or do I want a tomahawk steak? That's his fucking decision. Dude, like like you can't well, you can, but you'd be fucking stupid as hell to say that Pichel is gonna fucking win this weekend. Going against a fucking warrior and a fucking savage of Jim Miller.
I mean,
I just thought about this. Let's add a little extra MMA math in here.
uh-oh.
So, the last opponent that both of these guys fought was Roberts, right?
Yes.
They both won.
They both
However,
beat him.
Pichel beat him a year earlier, where Roberts had a year to get better.
Better, exactly.
So Jim Miller beat a better Roberts than Pichel did. So if we're going to throw MMA math, you got to go Jim Miller on this.
I agree.
And Pichel won from a decision. I don't think Miller did.
Yeah, pretty sure it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Oh, Roosevelt Roberts decided he wanted his shoulder intact.
Yeah.
That was about the
Yeah.
only decision that was made that evening.
Yeah.
I mean, when Jim Miller makes you do your Michael Chiesa cosplay routine, it's bonus time, baby. But that, boys and girls, will bring us into the main card, the meat and potatoes section of the meat and potatoes portion. That is this meat and potatoes derived show we have got for you here. And they are opening up with some fucking fireworks. I will say this, the main card itself is pure fucking liquid kerosene. Like, this shit is going to be fire from the start to the finish. There is no shit show on the main card, thankfully. So, the opening match is gonna kick shit off. I'm telling you right now, this may be the most energetic match we are going to see on this card. John the Magician Dobson versus Merab Valishvili. I don't know that they even have a nickname for Merab because you've always got Matt Serra in the corner going, "Yes, Merab!" That's kind of all you really need. But this is a classic representation of the guy who isn't quite done yet. I'm using air quotes for those listening. Against the new up-and-coming guy who is quite literally ripping and tearing his way through the division. He is setting records, either his own personal or UFC records, in every fucking match he has. I'm inclined to think, based on Dodson's style versus Merab's style, that Merab is going to try to set a new record Saturday night for takedowns. We have seen time and time again that as much as John Dodson can handle himself fairly well on his feet, he has a real hard time stopping a good, clean shot. Doesn't matter. Single leg, double leg, if you get in on him clean, he has a real hard time stopping you from putting him wherever the fuck you want him. Whether you want him against the fence or you want him out from underneath him, he's real easy to move around when you get him by the waist, basically. Takedowns. In a 3-rounder, 13 fucking takedowns. You got to think about that for a second. 15 minutes, 13 takedowns. You're not going to get a lot of time to do what you want to do against a guy like Merab. And he's trying to do more. He says he wants to break his own records or a UFC record in every match. And he's on par for doing just that. I think we might see 14 takedowns because Dodson's the kind of guy that is prone to be thrown around, and that's the kind of fight where Merab really fucking shines. I think we see just a beautiful wrestling ragdoll display here from Merab. I think Dodson's getting his ass thrown.
Yeah, Dodson's got one shot at this, and that's keep it on the feet.
Yep.
And you don't really want to fight Merab on the feet either. I mean, like, he's shown he'll knock you the fuck out.
Yeah, he's got that long fucking leap that he'll fucking hit you with from across the cage.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, this is, like, Dodson's got a puncher's chance. Like, everybody's got a puncher's chance, and when things start flying. But, I mean, Merab, he's gonna work that takedown so fucking hard in this fight. Unless Dodson mysteriously found takedown defense, I just don't see this going his way. Like, his shot is getting this on the feet and throwing as many shots as he can and hoping for a decision win. Hoping that he can negate control time, because he's going to get controlled in this fight. It's got to be Mirage. And he's not a bad dude.
Oh,
He's been
not at all.
around. I don't know that he's going to be able to counter it. Like I said, the only thing I could see is him having that puncher's chance and pulling out a decision on Marat if he's able to not get taken down. And then if he doesn't get taken down, then he's just dealing with a completely different version of what Marat's shown. So yeah, I'm going with Marat.
You know, I always had a soft spot for John Dodson, even though he was never fucking the greatest in this division, but he's always been entertaining.
Yep.
Whether it's inside or outside of the octagon, he's always entertaining. I almost feel bad for the guy. Almost. For this reason. He's to the point where we've seen him have a pretty rough go of it lately. I mean, you can tell he's obviously lost a step in his last couple fights because, I mean, don't get me wrong, some of the guys he's fought and lost against are some really good fighters. I mean, he took Yan to fucking decision.
Yes, he did.
He took the current champ to decision. And the
was
current
a good
champ
match,
has
too.
been tearing through motherfuckers. So, I mean, that right there is a feather in its cap as its own, but he's been on like a 3 or 4 fight skid. It's been bad. I don't know any other way to put it. I mean, he's had plenty of knockouts. He's always bounced around the cage well, but I can tell in his last couple fights there, he's obviously lost probably I'll say a half a step. I won't say a full step because he's just not quite as quick as he used to be. Part of that, I'm sure, it comes with age. I mean, he is 35, and that's where you're in that. Either you're right at the end of your peak, or you're starting that downhill slope.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't foresee him retiring anytime soon. At least not in the bantamweight division, because they don't hit as hard as the heavyweights do. But I mean, Marab he's a whole different animal. The only thing I worry about with Marab is how's the UFC going to look at him if he just keeps going takedown after takedown after takedown, rather than, I mean, finishing a fight early and giving himself some real feathers in his cap. Don't get me wrong, that is a real feather in your cap, scoring that many takedowns and eclipsing the record by what, 4 or
By
5?
Yeah, by 4 in the
Yeah.
first time he hit it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's fucking phenomenal. I mean, there's a reason why you get performance of the nights and things like that. But at the same time, does the UFC really want to see another all-out wrestler? Because we've got quite a few of those right now on the books. I mean, and it takes those wrestlers a lot longer to get to the top. I mean,
does.
you look at Petr Yan, that fucker, within a matter of, 3 years, he went
Right.
from absolute unknown to fucking king
Yeah.
in the bantamweight division. Just saying, there's a reason for that. Rob, he's definitely on the right track, but I think he needs to do something to give that little extra burst of, hey, look at this shit. Don't get me wrong, the wrestling will do it. It'll get you there. I just don't think it's going to fast track you as much as some of those other things. Get a really slick submission. Get a couple of knockouts under your belt.
Right.
Hell, even just a couple of stoppages of any sort will really increase your odds of doing a lot better in the long run. But I mean, he's definitely got the chops for it. Although it is kind of weird saying that, being as it's coming out of Matt Serra's camp.
I
But
agree.
you know, Serra he's a legend in his own. I mean, he did beat GSP and win the title at one point. So
That's right.
coming off of the Ultimate Fighter, for any of you guys who didn't know that. So that is definitely a tip of the cap to beat one of the greatest of all time and do it coming off the Ultimate Fighter. Albeit he lost it shortly thereafter, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
Yeah, it's Marab all day. I would love to give John Dodson some sort of fucking dog in this fight, but I think he's got more like a 2-year-old puppy in there.
Yeah.
So my only problem with this is, so Dodson has been fighting for a good bit of time. He's ranked number 12 in the division. How are you been fighting for as long as Dotson has? Ranked number 12, and your takedown defense is mediocre at best. Something doesn't add up with that. Whenever you are in the UFC, this like go back in the day to early 2000s, you could be a legitimate legend, but this is fucking 2020. It's not the one trick pony show anymore. That being said, I don't think Dotson is going to be number 12 come Saturday night. Dotson's a great fighter. He's great with his hands, and he has a shot if he can apply some serious pressure to Merab. If he applies some serious pressure, he could do some damage really quick because that motherfucker is fast. But that's if he can manage to actually land some shots on what the fuck Merab's doing.
Valid point, because Merab's not just gonna fucking stand there and let you hit him. No, I agree. I think it's gonna be a good fight, but it's definitely got some very bad potential for John Dodson if he doesn't have his shit together. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope he does, but if he doesn't, Merab's not the motherfucker you want to stand across from. Now, with that being said, that's going to bring us into probably the biggest dark horse fight of the card. This is another one of those that really isn't getting a lot of exposure, but this one kind of has, I'm not going to say it's a justifiable, but I'll say it's an understandable reason for not getting a lot of exposure. What I'm talking about here is Herbert Burns versus Daniel Pineda. Herbert Burns, for those of you who are unaware, is the younger brother of Gilbert Burns, the former almost title challenger, now next title challenger, I think, at welterweight is how that works. The Burns brothers are, for the most part, international jiu-jitsu stars, but definitely prominently in their home country of Brazil and in Abu Dhabi and ADCC and IBJJF. They're kind of big deals in the jiu-jitsu world. They are both level bad motherfuckers. And they are now taking their time to come up through the UFC and tear it piece by piece. Gilbert is now said to be getting the next title shot that he lost due to his Backstreet Boys reunion ticket that he has since refunded, apparently. Good on him, hopefully. But Herbert is, I don't want to say they're the same because obviously they're brothers being brothers, they're stylistically different things, but they are very similar in their level of badassery. They are both jiu-jitsu masters. They are both great fucking wrestlers. They are both great and clean technical strikers. Daniel Pineda, on the other side of things here, has fought in almost every single professional fighting organization, most recently being released from the PFL after testing positive and confessing to using steroids. Basically, Pineda is a juice head who bounced around until he got caught, and for some reason, the UFC picked him up directly off of his admitted steroid use suspension from the PFL, this being his new UFC quote-unquote debut. Not the guy to try and make your name off of in the UFC. Herbert Burns is far from that soup can that you're going to just walk through and try and make a name off, especially when you're used to being juiced to the tits and now you're in the USADA pool. Again, this is another one of those, I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Pineda, but I think Herbert Burns is going to absolutely fucking steamroll this guy.
Yeah, Herbert Burns did my boy Nate Landwehr dirty.
Yes,
like
he did.
really
Real
fucking
dirty.
So, I mean, until he proves me wrong, I have to go with Herbert Burns. Like Meter said, he's a lot better striker than he probably gets credit for. Those Burns boys, they got some power. They got some fucking power. But what I see happening here is they trade a few shots and then it's takedown city and then it's getting fucking worked. So Daniel Pineda, you are going to get worked like a math problem on this one, and the only solution is you're probably going to wind up getting tapped out, unless he catches you with something crazy. But I don't see Pineda having the skills to take on somebody like Herbert Burns. Herbert Burns is fighting world class fucking people all day, every day.
Yeah.
So
And handgun it.
yeah, it's like there's a lot of dudes in that camp that he's getting to roll with they're pretty fucking amazing. So yeah, Herbert Burns all day, man.
You know, I'm trying to piece together why the UFC picked up Pineda, because they cut him back in like 2014.
Yep. Yeah, before he bounced to Bellator and LFC and XFC. And
Yeah,
he went all over.
He was like a lizard lot at a truck stop. He was a lot lizard, period. I mean, the dude's been to every promotion, juiced to the gills. Then when he finally gets caught in one that actually tests for those things, the UFC picks him up. Why? He was garbage in 2014. He's been garbage since. And gets caught using PEDs. Why bring him in? The plus side to this, I think we see a repeat of June. Herbert Burns goes in, gets a first round finish via submission. He's in and out of there in under 2 minutes. Because, I mean, Pineda is nothing more than a rusty fucking soup can, at best. Dented to high hell and missing pieces out of the bottom.
You think it's Dana going, "Hey, we told you"?
It could be. It kind of could be.
He does
I just
have
don't
that
like
mentality.
I just don't like the fact that he's on the fucking main card.
To be fair, that's more about Herbert Burns.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I get
That's
that.
kind of what I was thinking. That's a Herbert Burns display.
Oh, no.
Yeah, this
no.
is a Herbert Burns showcase all day, every day.
I mean, you can't fuck Herbert Burns because fucking Pineda's a shitbag.
Oh no, I want Burns to stay there. I just don't want Pineda to be there.
Yeah, I don't think he belongs in the pool at all, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's gonna not be an issue for long.
You can't even call him a flash in the pan either, because he's literally gonna be a fart in the wind.
Yeah, hopefully just the breeze clears it out for everybody.
and hopefully, hopefully Burns can start getting like some serious fucking opponents, and he can show why the Rio fucking Barros clan of fucking BJJ is the only people that can actually compete against the Gracie family. Because the Barros are fucking kings, while
savages.
the Gracies are gods.
Yeah, they're definitely savages. It's a hell of a war. It's like Hatfield and McCoy's in the martial arts world.
Yeah. Seriously.
But that will bring us to the People's Co-Main Event, as it's come to be called, the next to last fight. This is going to be a hell of a matchup here. Junior Dos Santos versus Jairzinho Rosenstruik. This is one of the most interesting heavyweight matchups I think we have left to figure out. The equation, or the common denominator in this equation, rather, is that both of these gentlemen have been Ngannou'd. One obviously a little worse than the other, but it's going to be interesting to see how both of them have adjusted from that fight, because JDS got fucking clipped, but Jairzinho makes it a little tougher to try and figure out how Jairzinho is really going to stack up against JDS, in my opinion, because at least JDS got to work and move a little bit before that fight ended. In this situation, I'm inclined to think Jairzinho is going to come back better than he was before, because with the exception of Francis literally just freight train running him into the cage as he beat the shit out of him, Jairzinho has looked pretty good in most areas of his game. It's pretty much everyone else he has fought. The one area where he fight, we saw what happened right about there from 2 punches at the very end. So much like a Derek Lewis, Jairzinho also carries that oh shit power all the way to the end of the fight. If he can touch Overeem the way that he did with those quick, I think it was 2 shots total, the one that busted and the one that split it, there's a problem. And as much as I like JDS, his chin has been an issue for a hot minute now. He's not full Weidman status yet, but that chin has been wanting, has been found lacking. And in a contest against a guy who is a full kickboxer with world accreditation, like Jairzinho, who can hit you from anywhere with anywhere, and you've already got a bit of a chin issue and you're starting to show some road miles, I think this is Jairzinho's chance to kind of bounce back from what happened in the Francis match and show that he's still very much relevant in the heavyweight division and kind of gracefully give JDS a hint, nudge towards the door.
Yeah, this one, JDS is on a 2-fight skid. I mean, he got just blasted out by, of course, Francis Ngannou, and then lost to Curtis Razor Blade shortly thereafter. I'll say his chin has definitely had diminishing returns, and this all started, we got to go way back to when he made a run, won the title, and then immediately lost it to Cain Velasquez. Won it from Cain Velasquez, then lost it right back. But his chin is slowly diminished over time. His boxing is never left, though, which is fucking fantastic. He has some of the best hands in the heavyweight division. I'll say it outright. Like, as far as traditional boxing goes, his boxing is fabulous. But you're bringing in some of these guys now that have way more power than Cain Velasquez or him ever had. I mean, they have the kind of power that Brock Lesnar had if he could have thrown a punch. Or a proper punch. I mean, these guys now, they don't even necessarily throw a proper punch. I mean, you look at Derek Lewis and Rosenstrike, those guys, they don't always throw a proper punch, but man, do they know how to get the force behind it. They got enough to fucking move mountains in some cases. And I mean, we're seeing it. The only other big power puncher you got in the division right now, Francis Ngannou. But that dude, if you look at purely boxing between him and JDS, they have literally the best boxing, I would say, in all of MMA. Their boxing is on par with heavyweights in actual boxing. I mean, not to mention some of them are getting pointers from Mike Tyson, but, you know, that person is not in this fight. But unfortunately, with the diminished returns that we've seen out of JDS's chin, I have to give it to Rosenstrike purely on the ability to keep the power all the way through. He might not catch him right away, might go into deep water, but I still think we see Rosenstrike come fight, but I think he ends up going to sleep at some point. Although JDS does have some power in his hands, and knowing his boxing is better than Rosenstrike's, he could fucking surprise us all. Who knows? But if I was going to put money on it, I would say Rosenstrike wins this probably mid to late second round.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the mid to late second. I think he's going to survive. I think JDS will survive the first. Just purely based on, dude is still smooth. He's still silky fucking smooth on his feet. He's still quick. you know, but you can only duck that punch so long before things go right. And I was wrong about Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman actually managed to survive his fight. I thought for sure he was gonna take an ugly one, but this one I don't see any other. I didn't see any other way before. I still don't see a whole lot else, but Rosenstrike getting that fucking lightning shot, and JDS just going toes up. Like it's at this point you feel bad. JDS is another good dude. You know, he's been around for a while. Talk some shit, but that's all right. You know, who doesn't? But Rosenstrike is a different beast entirely. He's gonna duck him and duck him and duck him, and then get a little bit careless and get just slaughter knocked. So yeah, I've got Rosenstrike as well.
I almost forgot. I want to mention, so anybody who's listening to this or watching this live, this is my co-main event.
Not your people's main event.
That's right. This is my main event.
It's gonna be a good fight. JDS is too smooth for it not to be.
Agreed.
But it's just gonna be sitting there watching like, dude, like, is he gonna get countered? Is he gonna get countered? Is it? Oh, there it is.
Yep, here it comes. Oh, there it goes.
He ducked that one. Will he duck the next one?
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, Rosenstrike, like he's always came in higher on the scale in the heavyweight division. He's always getting up there, close if not over that 240 bracket. While you have JDS is always a bit lower than that. Like Rosenstrike carries a whole fuckload of more weight than what a lot of the other fighters in the division do. And even those few pounds, that means a whole fuckload of power behind the fist whenever it fucking catches you in the chin. But I would love to see JDS fucking pull some magic out of his hat, but with how fast and smooth of a fighter Rosenstrike has been becoming, I don't think he's gonna be able to do a whole lot. He's gonna put up a hell of a fucking fight. He's gonna do some serious damage to Rosenstrike. I think Rosenstrike, I think he's gonna send him to Mars. He's gonna put him on his ass and be like, yeah, this is the new breed. Which I don't want to say, but JDS is a dying breed. Like it's not an old man sport anymore.
Yeah, this is absolutely true, and it's one of those things where JDS is undeniably going to be a Hall of Famer whenever he does finally hang them up. He will be in the Hall of Fame. It's undeniable at this point. He helped build the sport and the heavyweight division specifically into the recognizable thing that it is today. But that was a decade and change ago. It's time, and I don't know. I agree with you guys. I don't think he's going to see around 3. I think this ends in the end of the second. I think JDS is going to get sent out gracefully but violently. That being said, for everyone other than TJ, that will bring us to the co-main event of the evening.
Not my co-main event.
We've got a hashtag not my co-main eventer here.
Hashtag not the people's main event.
Right. I am interested in this matchup because this is going to be, for lack of anything else it will be said about it, the truest benchmark test we have seen to date for Sean O'Malley. I was quite positive that the smoothest Mexican gunfighter the UFC has ever seen was going to get the job done and end this fucking hype train for us. Unfortunately, he suffered a Samson-esque fate in shaving the most glorious handlebar we had ever seen in fighting sports right before that match, and subsequently got his ass beat. Um, they tried to replace that with the second best, or what was left as the best handlebar mustache in Eddie Wineland, and we saw how that went. So I'm hoping at this point we know, regardless of facial hair color, stature, type, Cheeto is probably the most dangerous Ecuadorian the UFC has ever seen, and one of the most dangerous strikers the division has ever seen, as well as one of the slickest submission artists the UFC has ever seen in this division. And I'm hoping that he just silently has been letting the rage of this idiot's hair color build within him, and Saturday night he exacts that revenge in the form of a choke on this color-headed fuckstick that has become the Sugar Show. I'm hoping this train gets derailed via RNC.
So this is Sugar Sean's third fight back since suspension, right? And they've all been this year, right?
I think
I'm not wrong. I don't think I'm wrong about that.
I know 2 of them been this year.
Yeah, just two this year. Just 2 by August. Anyway.
Yeah.
The one thing, Cheeto's never been finished.
No.
Like, he's never been finished. Like, he's taken some abuse from some of the toughest dudes on the fucking roster and came through. Win or loss, he fucking came through it. He's a tricky son of a bitch, but at this point, I don't know that I'm riding the sugar train, but I haven't seen anybody able to stop him. Like, regardless of what you think about him, like, nobody's been able to stop what he's doing yet. This might be the dude that puts a stop to it and makes him go a full fight. But I don't see the way that he's fought. Like, I have to give it to Sugar Sean, because I think at this point he doesn't know that he can't. And when people have that confidence that I don't know that I can't beat you, then it makes a world of difference in a fight. It makes a world of difference. And as good as Cheeto is, I'm unfortunately, I think he's probably going to wind up another notch on the belt of Sugar Sean. I would like to see it otherwise, because I really like Cheeto. I think he's clever, and I think he's a very, very intelligent fighter, and he has a ton of skills, and he doesn't get nearly enough credit as he probably should.
Agreed.
But like I said, until someone stops him, then I have to keep going with Sugar Sean.
Hell, I have to look at it this way. Sugar been in the UFC for what? Well, technically, I think we're coming into his 3rd year, albeit a year of that on suspension, because allegedly for pot. Get the fuck out. We know better than that. But he's still green, for one. I don't buy the hype, because all we've seen is fucking stuff from knockouts. We've seen him go the distance in one fight. And at the end of that fight, he had to fucking fight off his back because his leg was fucked up. So I'll give him credit for that. He can fight through an injury. Good on you. Marlon Rivera, I think people are going to underestimate him on this big time. For this reason. He doesn't have a number behind his name. That's going to be the biggest factor on why they're going to look past him. In the last 3 years, he's only lost 2 fights. And he's had, I think, 6 or 8 fights in the last 3 years. So he's been pretty goddamn active. His last fight that he just had I think it was in March. He lost by a razor-thin decision. I mean, if you go back and you look at the the strike counts and everything that went with that, in theory, that decision could have went his way. But, that leave it in the hands of the judge and stuff. But the rest of his wins prior to that, they were finishes. He goes out and finishes people. And we've seen Sean O'Malley finishing people too. And I'll give him credit. What he has in the bantamweight division versus everyone else, a fuck ton of length because of his height. He's almost 6 foot tall. Everyone else, looking at 5'9", 5'8" ish in the bantamweight division because they're all small frame guys. So yeah, he knows how to use his distance and manage his distance well, and I think that's what's been winning him his fights. However, a guy in Chito Vera who's been around this sport long enough, he's fought some of those linky guys. He knows how to get inside on those tall fighters. I think what we're going to see happen is we're going to find out, can Sean O'Malley fight off of his back? Can he grapple? Because we haven't seen much grappling from him at all. Most everything's been on the feet. Not to mention, his game is very kick orientated. If you notice, he throws a lot of kicks. All he's got to do is time one, and that's an easy takedown. So, chances are we see this going to the ground at some point. And I have to give the nod in this case to Chito Vera because I think he's just a way more well-rounded fighter.
Agreed.
And I think what's really giving him the edge here is the experience because he's not road-worn bad at all. He's had a couple of wars, but nothing where he's come out really fucked up.
Yeah, hasn't taken a lot of damage in the wars that he's been in.
Yeah, so I have to give it to him purely on the amount of his fights and how we've seen him fight in the past. I don't think the hype train is real. I really don't. I think this is the time where we see that fucker come just derailing in glorious fashion. And then I can say it should have been the fucking premier prelim fight maybe and put a, 8-10 up here instead of this shit. Don't get me wrong, I like Chito Vera a lot, but fuck Sean O'Malley. And it's not even fuck Sean O'Malley, because you know what? The guy does bring fans to the sport, and I'm all for that. You bring more people in, the flashy fucking hair colors and all of that, the way he acts outside of the octagon, that's going to bring people in to sit down and enjoy the sport. And you know what? For that, I credit him. The credit where credit's due there. Yeah, you're running a fucking mean streak, but I think this is where it comes to an end. So at this point, I say it's Chito Vera, and I think we actually see him finish him. Probably late second, middle of the third.
Oh. So, Sean O'Malley, as everybody knows, is fucking ridiculous in the bantamweight class. He's he's been talking about just going through the division and just wrecking shop, which he has been, but he hasn't fought people like a Chito Vera. He hasn't really come close to the toolbox, the knowledge, and the abilities that somebody else has, like Vera. He was smoothest out of nowhere, fuck you knockouts, and what the fuck just happened submissions that has come out of the bantamweight division. Point blank period. Sean is quick, he's lanky as fuck, and that's pretty much what's gotten him a 12-0 professional record. He's got a lot of confidence behind him, which is good. Being a fighter, confidence is key in the fucking cage. That's great. Don't be a dick about it, and don't be cocky, and don't talk about shit that you haven't fucking earned yet. Go one fight at a time and pay attention to what you're doing. Vera goes one at a time. This is what I'm going to do. This is my game plan. If he does this, which he does a lot, this is how I'm countering that. Vera is more meticulous of a fighter than what somebody of a Sugar Sean O'Malley is. It's it's gonna be a great fight to put Sean in his place and show him that you're not big shit in the division. Yeah, you have a rank by your name and you've gone through fighters, but whenever you have actual people that have done this for vast majority of their life, you don't you're not you're not fucking shit. You're garbage.
I agree. And I think the thing that bothers me about this fight the most is that all week long, literally, and you can see it reflected in the embedded that they put up on YouTube for this week, Cheeto Vera has been laser focused on Saturday night. And he said it in press conferences, he said it in interviews. He doesn't give a shit about Sean's hair. He doesn't give a shit about Sean talking, about him running his mouth on his fucking Twitch stream, about him tweeting shit about him. He doesn't give a fuck about what Sean's doing. He knows how Sean's fighting because he studied Sean's style. He knows what he has to do to stop it and to negate it. And that's what he's focused on. He's got to fight Saturday night against Sean, and that's what he focuses on, period. And then you look the other direction, and Sean O'Malley has literally spent the last week, just in the last week alone, has divided his focus partially between making sure everyone sees and understands that he dyed his hair the colors of the Ecuadorian flag just for Cheeto, because he thinks it's going to bother him, which, spoiler alert, it didn't. Between talking shit to Cody Garbrandt, who is not worried about 135 pounds at all because he just got a title fight given to him at 125 pounds, so you can talk all the shit you want. He's literally not even in your division thinking about you right now. He's got a title fight, an actual title fight that he's focusing on. And then the third thing that he's been worried about all week is promoting his new clothing line and cannabis strain, the Sugar Show. Talking about how he's going to be meeting Peter Yan. He's looking at his next fight being a possible title fight. He's done everything all week except focus on the fight that got him here that's happening this weekend, whether he's ready for it or not. Cheeto's not the guy you want to overlook. We've said it time and time again. Overlooking your immediate opponent is one of the dumbest things you can do as a professional fighter. Doing it to this extent is just grandiose, in my opinion. Like, he almost isn't even realizing he has a fight Saturday. He's just using this as his own little promotional platform. And I think he's going to get a real hard reminder when he steps in there and they close that fucking door behind Cheeto.
Also, as TJ said, everybody is looking over Vera. Go to the UFC Instagram page and go look at Vera's highlight reel.
Fuck yeah.
And then go look at Sugar Sean O'Malley's highlight reel and tell me who's an actual badass motherfucker.
Yeah, I agree. I love that they posted all those fucking highlights from Cheeto, because Cheeto has a legitimate, like, ESPN Sports Center caliber fucking highlight reel. And they use his clips a lot, just kind of slid in without saying, oh yeah, this is Cheeto Vera. They just kind of run it through because there were those, like, oh shit kind of quick moments. Cheeto's got a lot of those because he's real fucking good. And he practices and he focuses. I think that's going to come to shine a lot Saturday night. But that will bring us into the twice sent back and brought back from the kitchen new tomahawk steak that we originally ordered 2 years ago and still didn't get it right yet. In the main event for UFC 252, the trilogy to end at least this fucking trilogy, Stipe versus DC 3, the rematch that no one besides DC asked for. For some reason that I still have not been able to get anyone to clearly explain to me in all genuine sternness why both Dana and all of the press for the UFC themselves have been saying that this fight will determine GOAT status in the heavyweight division. I don't understand how that's possible because, for one, Stipe has the belt. He got his belt back. For two, the GOAT status in the heavyweight division was cemented by Stipe before their first fight ever took place, when he set the record for most heavyweight title defenses. That's only been interrupted by the hiccup that was the one Daniel Cormier win, which has since been corrected, and Stipe now has his belt back. So in no way can DC, by somehow winning this fight, take over GOAT status when that is cemented in a number that he couldn't reach even if he still had the belt right now to be defending, which he doesn't. But Dana and all of the UFC promotion are saying the winner of this fight will be the heavyweight GOAT. How? Fucking how? Aside from the fact that this is just the third fight between these two, DC hasn't been in the heavyweight division itself long enough to have earned GOAT status. That being said, I get my own fucking earplug out here. Talking about DC's got me that fucking angry. I think this is going to be the opportunity that Stipe wanted the second fight to be. If you've watched those embedded videos, you, much like I'm sure myself and my wife, very loudly and audibly call bullshit on DC and Javier Mendez, saying that when they started shooting the embedded series with them, DC weighed 240 on the button. Watch episode 1 when he climbs in his fucking pool and tell me that's 240 pounds. As a man that weighs more than 240 pounds, I call bullshit. I'm the size those guys start out at before they cutting down. I walk around about 265. I recognize a 240 body, and that ain't fucking it. DC's rolling heavy. He might get down to 240 at the end of this weigh-in tomorrow, but he's not walking around at 240. And then you look over at Stipe. Stipe legitimately looks slimmer and leaner than he has looked in his entire time in the UFC. He looks like a younger Stipe. He looks like they took the Tron 2 Jeff Bridges technology and applied it to the Stipe we saw in the last DC fight. He's younger, he's slimmer, he's smoother. I think Stipe has surprisingly spent his time off training and getting better, getting his body in better shape and getting accustomed to being in better shape. It's almost like he's got a genuine champion mentality, as opposed to Cormier, who allegedly got up to 290 pounds after the last fight and has had to spend the first 6 weeks of his training camp getting back to 265 so that he can do 2 workouts a day. Basic athletics and genuine athleticism being the guide here should give you the inclination that Stipe is coming into this with everything he needs to get DC the fuck out of the UFC already. And I have nothing that I have seen from DC to give me any reason to believe otherwise. I think DC is literally coming in this with just ego driving him. I don't think he's genuine in this legacy bullshit. I don't think he's genuine in believing that he's the better athlete than Stipe. I think he's riding his own mental hype from the lucky shot that was the first time they matched up, and it can't accept the results of his flaws being widely exposed in the second matchup. And I think that, combined with the fact that he's already convinced himself he's not coming back regardless, are enough to lead him down the path of distraction Stipe is going to use to knock him the fuck out for the final time in the UFC. I think Stipe puts him to fucking sleep for his final octagon appearance.
Where to even begin with all of this? Well, first, whether we like it or not, DC will end up in the Hall of Fame for MMA. Period. And
Absolutely.
you know what? It's well deserved. I'll say it. As much as I'm not a fan, he's done some amazing things for the sport. Going all the way back to taking out Josh Barnett when he was supposed to be the biggest underdog ever at the time.
Yes. And Barnett was
I
a
mean,
beast at that point too.
yeah, Barnett was on literally the epitome of the fucking man.
The War Master.
So I mean, and he's done great things in the UFC. I'll say it. I don't like to, but I will say it. He's done great things for the sport. He's a fantastic fucking coach. He's a great wrestler. I, to be honest, I think that's his only chance here is if he tries to wrestle more than he did the last fight, because he did not use his wrestling toolbox at all. However, everybody forgets Stipe is a wrestler too. He might not be the same caliber of wrestler, but he's still going to have really good tuck and takedown defense. And not to mention, he does have hands for days. I mean, he was slow to start in the last fight, but once his hands picked up and you saw his feet start moving, that was all over from the end. Can he risk taking a slow start again? I don't think so. Because obviously we know that he can get touched, albeit the 1 in a million chance that happened in the first one. Stipe's come a really long way. If you go all the way back to the beginning of his career in the UFC, he's evolved a lot. He's gotten a ton better. And normally, when it comes to champions, you always think that it's hard to get up and work when you're sleeping in silk sheets. He's not that person because he still works a normal fucking day job. He still works as a fucking firefighter along with being a UFC champion. So it's not that he's having a hard time getting up to train because that's something he does every day. So I think what this is going to come down to is, in all actuality, I think this is going to depend on whether DC uses his wrestling or not. If he doesn't use it, we're going to see something along the lines of what fight number 2 was. Maybe not exactly to that same stature, but we obviously found where DC's weak. That liver side on him is weak.
Yep.
And we saw it because it took a round and a half for him to pick that liver apart and then finally finish it off. I mean, we know that's weak. Hopefully he's worked on some sort of defense for that. And his best defense is going to have to be an offensive wrestling. And he refused to do it last time. So we'll see what happens with that. I think he had it in his head of, oh, I knocked him out once, I can do it again. But that Croatian, man, he's on a whole different level when it comes to it. You just luckily found the button that night. He doesn't have a compromised chin. We've seen him take full-on fucking power shots from Francis Ngannou and not go down. You literally got lucky and hit the button. I'm not a fan of DC. I'll say it. I'll say it again. However, I do wish him luck because you know what? If this is going to be your final hurrah, go out with a fucking bang. Whether you go out on your shield or you somehow miraculously win this thing, and I'll call it miraculous because I don't think he's going to. But if he wins and decides to retire, good on him. Because you know what? I'm a big fan of this move by him saying this is going to be my last fight. As long as he keeps it that way, I'm a big fan of it. Not because I want to see the guy leave the sport, even though I'm not a fan, but because he's hanging them up at the right time. There's so many fighters we talk about all the time that don't do that. If he's honestly serious about, hey, I'm done, this is it, more power to him. The only thing that bothers me about this fight and a trilogy, look, I like a good trilogy. There's nothing wrong with it. DC won the first one, Stipe won the second one. Yeah, we need a trilogy. It's just the way it is. May not be the one everybody wants to see. In fact, I'll say I know it's not the one everybody wanted to see. For the last fight, we all wanted to see a John Jones DC3. you know what? If DC was going to go out on a last fight, that would have been the fight to do it. 'Cause that would have blown the roof off the building. And, you know, again, this is kind of a strange time that we're living in, and going to be really strange going from their last fight in a packed arena to nobody at all. What I want to know is how is that going to affect both of them going in? And not so much going in because they're going to fight the same,
Right.
but how is that going to affect them with no crowd noise, being able to hear their coaches? I mean, we've seen it time and time again where it's made a difference already for a lot of fighters where they're able to listen to their coaches or say, yeah, I loved hearing the other corner in shambles because hearing them panic made me fight better.
Right.
I mean, we'll see, but my money's on Stipe. I think we see something similar to the second fight. I think it's going to get finished sooner, though. I'm thinking we're looking at a third round finish before it gets into the deep waters.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't think we see championship rounds in this match either.
The only question I have for this fight is how many body shots is it going to take before DC starts going for takedowns? That's my question. Because he got exposed.
One.
Right.
It might be one before he starts going for a takedown.
Well, and they talked about that in the press conference today, or like 2 hours ago, or an hour and a half ago, right before we started the show. Someone asked DC, what do you think the chances of him throwing a body shot like he ended the last fight with are? And he looked right at Stipe and he said 100%. He said he'd be stupid not to. He said, just like I'd be stupid not to try and throw that same hook I caught him with in the first fight. We know it works. It might not work the same, but we know it works. So we're both going to do what we've done that had success in the past. It's just a matter of which one of us has adjusted since then.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if DC actually does start trying to use his wrestling. I mean, Stipe is no slouch. He's no slouch when dudes try and take him down. Like, he's got great takedown defense. He's got a great all-around game. I think he's a more intelligent fighter than DC is. So, I mean, I'm right there with you. I think this is Stipe's fight to lose. If he comes in with a game plan similar to what he did in, well, it wasn't a game plan because he just adjusted on the fly once he started seeing that those shots were open. Like he's like, okay, give me your liver. I'll just keep hitting you there until you fall down. And I see this kind of going the same way, just kind of going back and forth and whatever openings there, that's what Stipe is going to do. I think he's a more intelligent fighter. I think he adjusts on the fly faster. If DC was smart, he would try and take him down and lay on him the whole fight.
Yeah.
Like that would be the ultimate strategy. Just control time. If he starts doing that, I don't think Stipe could stop him if he was really, really intent on working that game plan. Based on what we've seen before, though, I don't think he's going to work that game plan. I think he's going to try and throw fists, and that's a mistake because he's going to figure out what your weak spot is, and off he goes, just laying into you. Maybe he'll take a leg this time. Maybe he'll just leg kick him to death. Who knows?
Interesting.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting out of Stipe. But he'll spot the weakness, and Stipe will spot the weakness like he does in everybody, and then that's game over. So, yeah, Stipe.
So, we all really don't like Daniel Cormier. That's pretty well noted.
Wait, you guys
think
don't
he's
like
all right.
you guys don't like Daniel Cormier?
And
I think DC's all right.
he's a good guy.
The
Outside.
Popeye's chicken guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's
Yeah,
all
the
right.
guy. Yeah, the guy that says that he's the best light heavyweight fighter that the world has ever seen. You know, that guy.
I love red beans and rice. What are you saying, RJ?
So like it's rather like documented that a lot of us don't like DC. But that's besides the point. What people are talking about is if DC wins, oh my god. If DC wins and he does retire, guess what? Stipe gets his fucking title back because nobody else holds a fucking flame to Stipe in the fucking heavyweight division. That's one thing. That's if he loses. With the way, as Meter is talking about, the way that Stipe looked in the embedded series and watching him do some light training, I don't think that it's going to be that slow start for the hands like it was in 2. With how good he looks physically and how just focused and just fucking ready to get this to get in there and to do this again, those fists are fucking flying fucking Bruce Lee speed. Fuck a slow start. It's gonna be beautiful watching Daniel Cormier lose because he's just gonna get the dog shit beat out of him by a fighter that is better than him, that is already the fucking GOAT. It's already done and over with. You can go ahead, put the gloves up. You had a beautiful career in the heavyweight division. That's the asterisk next to Daniel Cormier. He had a fantastic career in the heavyweight division. He's a hell of a fighter. He bitched all the time. I didn't like that. He's a little crybaby. But that's besides the point. DC, if you actually stand behind this and you put the gloves down, fucking good on you. Wish the best of luck to you for what you did to the sport and what you did to the heavyweight division. Fucking best of luck to you. Keep fucking training. You know, keep doing everything that you're doing because you're finally getting into the right step for me to call you a good fucking person and not a crybaby bitch anymore. So good on you. You officially changed that to me. But come Saturday, I don't see Stipe losing with how good he looks right now. Whenever he talks, he's focused. You can see it in his eyes. You can hear it in his voice. He's ready to get this fucking done. And it'll be official Stipe Miocic, the UFC World Heavyweight Champion and the official GOAT of the heavyweight division, which was already deserved. He already has that.
I agree.
I wonder if they're going to make him a GOAT title because Masvidal got the badass motherfucker title.
It's true. On the way the UFC's going, the extra promotion wouldn't hurt.
And I mean that'd be great whenever Stipe retires, just to hang that up in a fucking shadow box like right next to his front door.
Right.
So as soon as you walk inside, hey, I was the GOAT at one point.
I mean,
Something to tell your grandkids right there.
I think one of the most telling things coming into this for me has been watching, and that's one of the reasons I love that the UFC does the embedded series. I wish they would do it for every fucking card. Like, it wouldn't be that much more work for them to follow the main event and co-main event fighters around for every card during fight week. But I get that they only do it for the pay-per-views and that makes it more special, blah, blah, blah. That being said, I love the inside glimpse that it gives you into the final touches on the training camp, because you can see Stipe watching the video of the other fights, and he says directly, he looks right into the fucking embedded camera and says, look at this shit, it took me 18 minutes to move my feet. If I do that again, I'm not coming home with my belt. I have to get my feet moving as soon as the opening bell starts. I can't give him a chance to get started on me. And then you look at DC, and he spent the week playing fucking golf. Both at home and in Vegas. I'm not exaggerating. Watch the embedded series. He spent this week playing golf. I mean, I guess that works if you're the Cheeto finger in chief, but that doesn't work if you're trying to defend the fucking heavyweight belt or trying to take the heavyweight belt. Stipe's been putting the work in. DC's been putting retirement groundwork in. That kind of shows you the mentality of how this fight really sets on both of them, to me at least.
DC is going to start looking for a house in Florida.
Yeah. He put a fucking golf practice setup in his backyard on the Embedded series.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Like,
He's gonna start. He's gonna go down to Florida,
he's
find a
fully
house
embracing
down
it.
there,
Yeah.
because that's what the old people in Florida do nowadays. Is they just play golf all the time, play
Yep.
golf and talk about their the days when they were in like in peak condition. Back in my day.
Well, the good thing is that in just 2 days from now, we get to see this all play out and be done regardless of how it ends. It will be done one way or the other. That much I can genuinely say I am excited for. But that's all we've got for this particular episode of the show. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So before we get out of here, I do want to take just a moment and thank these fine gentlemen for their time. So at this point, if someone wants to, I don't know, perhaps contend for the interim new guy title and they need to know how to get a hold of you on social media so that your people can get a hold of their people and then you can set the belt paperwork up, how would someone go about contacting you after the show, RJ?
Well, first, you'd have to get in contact with me on Instagram at RJMMA Official. Two, we would have to do like proper screening. I'd have to be in a weight class to where I could catch a catch weight or drop down. Or I'm not going up. I can't do that. I feel fat already, and I'm only 160. I feel fat as fuck already. But you could come and hit me up there, and we can set something up. But it's not gonna end well. It's gonna be fun. Hey, Meter, are you down? I mean, you got like 120 pounds on me, but I mean, like we're like 6 hours apart. We can meet in the middle.
Ain't no thing but a chicken wing, homie.
But we'll be in touch, man.
It'd be on like drums and flats, brother. Thank you very much for your time, sir. So, after that, I know that the next thing somebody's going to want to do once they understand that the interim new guy title is discernibly available for attempting to acquire, how would someone go about signing up to get on the most fun scavenger list in the Pacific Northwest?
So, catch weight fight, 120 pounds. What do you think, RJ?
I can do it.
You can come down. You can come down to 120.
I can do that. Easy.
He says as he's eating.
I ate a grape. I ate a grape.
Pauses DC style with a drumstick almost to his mouth. Like,
Right?
you want to fight where?
That's a whole grape.
But yeah, we're still looking for Uncle Chael. We've expanded our search area because he has become so elusive. So we've got oysters out in the Pearl District. We've got beaver traps out in Beaverton. We've erected thorn bushes out in the Hawthorne District. We're narrowing in on you, Uncle Chael. You are going to get fucking hugged, whether you like it or not. Granted, it may not end well for me, but that hug will get locked in, at least for a second. At least for a second, Uncle Chael. That's all I'm saying. So we have expanded our search areas because I believe he has to have like a mobile grain silo, and you see him going up and down I-5 all the time. It's got to be somewhere. So we're laying out these traps, and we're getting dialed in. I believe he's in North Portland somewhere at this point. So that's why we're focusing on the beaver traps in Beaverton. Hopefully we don't just wind up with like a bunch of lot lizards, but hopefully we wind up with Uncle Chael.
What if he's not even in a silo? What if he's actually on the interstate in the back of a semi truck? Because that would
in the back of the semi truck, like doing remote commentary.
Yeah, that would be why he'd be so elusive. You said the interstate. That got the brain turning there.
That I-5 in Portland is a stop and go, so it's certainly possible because he wouldn't have the engine noise blazing over the top.
True.
Are you thinking this could possibly be a similar Bane related incident?
It could be.
You never know.
I live in darkness, Clark Jones.
No. Get a Pringle can. Does perfect brain impressions.
There you go.
Talk into it.
Kids these days. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Fresh. Very much appreciated. So now, at this point, the only thing left to check off your MMA punchy kicky awesomeness bucket list for your bingo card would be to get yourself some fried cheese curds and some Kenosha Crippler knowledge. And for that, they're going to have to get in touch with the man with the plan here, Mr. Golf T Vapes. How would they do that?
Man, that's a rough go because, you know, and I found a couple new hot spots for cheese curds, so
Shit.
I'm saying they're out there and about, so now it's kind of an iffy subject, but, you know, see me on a Wednesday night floating around on YouTube somewhere, by all means, come say hello. Find me on the Instagrams, shoot me a message. I'll shoot you a list of places to go. And if you ask real nicely, I'll tell you one that is next to the Kenosha Crippler himself. Yeah, just saying, there are some delectables there that are, and if you're feeling real good, we can get you even one down by Rufus Sports out in Milwaukee.
Showtime cheese curds.
That's right. They'll get you to the top, but they might not keep you there.
Hey, as long as you get there, right? Thank you very much for your time, sir. Always appreciated. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is all we've got for this particular episode this evening. So, if you enjoyed what we put forth for you, give us a thumbs up. If you got a good chuckle from some of the shit talking and shenanigan we put forth, subscribe. We do this at least once a week, pretty much every fucking week. If we gave you an aha, rib-splitting, light bulb-inducing moment, share an episode of the show for us. We're trying to grow this damn thing. On the other side of that coin, if we're just a bunch of dipshits contending for a new guy title on the internet for everyone else to watch, give us a thumbs down. We earned it, and we won't dispute it. But that being said, we are going to call it all for this evening. So remember, till next time, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Unless, of course, you think that it was all bad people on Epstein's Island, except for the guy with the excessive spray tan and thousands of pictures of him with young girls on his lap.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.